And thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to see such a great crowd. And thank you to Tree for inviting me. Solid mahogany. But it was not the kind of table you dream about. Just a table for meat and potatoes, a can of peaches, tarnished silver, heavy as old sorrow, built to outlast the lives of those who sat around it. Too solid to drag, it took two to lift it into place. In the center of the room, occupied the whole space, and squeezed you hard against the walls, reducing breaths to sighs. Low crossbars stretched from corner to corner, sullen bonds waiting to stub toes, bruise ankles, keep you in your place. You knew your place. Some enchanted evening, idle notions like your heart's desires, taboo. Face facts. You ought to be grateful. The table could be expanded, but that was never needed. The world under suspicion. No one can be trusted. And you're leaving just what might have been expected. Oh, thank you. Now, since we retired some time ago, Les and I have done a lot of traveling, and this poem will give you an idea of what it is about traveling that we enjoy. Not the first stanza, but the second. The joy of travel. Memory is the simplest form of prayer. Mark Piercy. The joy of travel lies in forgetting those sleepless hours on the night train to Varanasi, choking on grit, bunks too hard, too narrow, and your stout neighbor snores, drilling the stifling air. The heated argument in Riga over what you don't remember, but you both sulked in silence for days. Forget, too, stomach cramps, diarrhea, frantic searches through narrow medieval streets for toilets, non-existent in Umbria, unspeakable in Belarus. That time someone picked your pocket on the Mexico City metro. The endless descent, skidding down mountain gravel, round curve after curve, knees screaming, into Castelluccia at last. Remember instead the fairy tale towers and turrets of Tallinn, visions of Rapunzel and frog princes, the heady scent of wild thyme, rosemary, sage, lining the footpaths through Tuscany. That afternoon drinking red wine by the sea in Giuseppe, as you listen to tall tales of ancient Turkish raiding parties, the winding shoreline of Boka Kotorska and its misty seascape, the sun setting on the beach at Kulikamari, the patient crowds waiting, and the black silhouette of a T-boy's bicycle leaning against crimson.
Very nice.
And one of my favorite destinations, India. I live now inside the idea, not the Taj Mahal rising through the mist at dawn, nor the ancient fort in Agra, but the Targa dancer on that Haveli roof, weaving midnight through his fingers. Emerald kingfishers perched by the pool. Not the stupa at Sarnath, but the mass of nuns from Thailand chanting there, chanting. Memory in the present tense. 3 tigers dreaming through late afternoon. An old man crouches for hours, arranging paradise piece by piece, a mandala of petals in a bowl of water. A cripple scuttles, a spider between our legs. At traffic lights, my bus idles, and a beggar girl performs a string of handstands, cartwheels, eyes laughing, till smiling, I stretch out my hand with rupees. For the last, maybe 14 years, we have been spending the winter in this little town in Mexico. And one year we decided it was time we brought home a souvenir. And there's a lot of artists that live there. It's not San Miguel. And it's called Ajijic. And we thought we'd get a painting, and we went round the studios and we couldn't find anything we liked, but then we came upon this photographer's studio, and her photographs just took our breath away. And I wrote this, ended up buying 3 of them, and I wrote this about one of them, and in fact I read it at the opening of her exhibition in Mexico. It's called Still Life. Inspired by a photograph of a roadside stand in Villahermosa by Jill Fessington. Look, no one stirs the bright blue pot simmering on the iron firebox, or tends the ears of roasted corn that sweetly brown on the charcoal brazier. Their green leaves litter the pavement. No one gathers the huge sheaf of scarlet gladioli that embraces a corner of the adobe wall. See, on a chair a basket of apples tilts forward, and beside the open door, in the thick, hot silence, 2 bottles of milk wait. Sun curls around the scene. It vibrates with life, though none is present. The weight of absence hangs in the air. It touches the pot, ruffles the petals, scatters the leaves. We go through life tracking absences. As crucial as a poem's white spaces, we respond to them, like the pause between breath in, breath out, that split second necessary to live when we do not breathe. And one of my grandsons is here tonight, so I'm going to read a poem for him. Only this was written when he was a toddler, not for when he was the young man he is now. As I read to my grandson, I find myself wondering about Mary and that lamb. How did she feel having some creature follow her everywhere? Did she enjoy the company? Could the lamb talk? Animals usually can in nursery rhymes. Did they discuss other children, other sheep, or Mary's teacher, their favorite books? Was Mary annoyed at always being followed? I would be. She must have longed for some privacy, some time alone, time to talk to the other children, unobserved, uninterrupted. Probably a lamb that seemed so insensitive wouldn't just stand there and listen. Which makes me wonder what kind of creature that lamb was. Did he have no life of his own? Didn't he want to gamble with the other lambs? Join in their buying? Was he ostracized by the others? Was he unbalanced, delusional? Was that why he followed Mary? Today we'd never tolerate such behavior. Mary could call the police, go to court, get a restraining order. You never know where that kind of obsession might lead. The lamb might go mad and pummel her with his hooves, chew out her throat. By now I am quite upset and decide never to read the rhyme again. When my grandson begs, I say no. You can never tell what effects such a story might have on an impressionable mind. What might one day turn an innocent child into a stalker. And my last 2 poems are both in a form that I'm very fond of, and I've written quite a few poems in this form, and it's a glossa. And strangely enough, they're both written on quatrains from the same poet, Wisława Szymborska. The first one is Glossa for Time, and the quatrain that it's based on is strange planet and strange people on it. They yield to time, but they don't want to recognize time. They have their ways of expressing resistance. They make pictures such as this, and it's from her poem, People on the Bridge. The past is a foreign country. You pore over old photographs, wonder at yellowing images of wicker chairs, lace tablecloths, tea parties on the lawn. What were they talking about? 2 flappers, bobbed hair, silk stockings, on a visit to the seaside. They look happy. An old woman, slightly rumpled, poses, a monkey on her shoulder. Your favorite. Strange planet and strange people on it. In the past, old men walk in the park. In the park, old men walk briskly, elbows pumping, chests out. If they walk fast enough, they'll catch up with their youth, when their bodies were firm and they in their prime. In a distant park in Beijing, men with long brushes paint poetry in water, their words transitory, sublime. They yield to time, but don't want to recognize time. Though they see it when they look in a mirror, that window on time. Clothes locked away in an attic carried the odor of patchouli, old perfume. Leaves fall from a tree, dry and wrinkle like skin. Dorian Gray's hope by chance they'll defeat it. Carpe diem. If only they could seize each day and hold it. Halt the year's advance. They have their ways of expressing resistance. Emperor Qin 2,000 years ago wanted to live forever, designed an army of terracotta. Today crowds rush to Xi'an, gaze at soldiers and chariots, wonder in awe, think of him. He lives on. You lounge in your garden, enjoy this autumn evening, feel the last faint rays of sun warm on your face, savor this glass of wine, this dish of dusky plums, this scent of clematis. They make pictures such as this. And my last poem is another glossa, again based on Wisława Szymborska, only this time her poem is Family Album, and my poem is Romantic Relations. No one in my family has ever died of love. What happened, happened, but nothing myth-inspiring. Romeos of consumption, Juliets of diphtheria, some have even achieved decrepitude. And that's the quatrain from Family Album. I always wanted romantic relations, cousins fraught with passion, dying young of love. Each night I read steamy novels of rugged heroes who wooed wenches, raven-haired and beguiling. They met in the moonlight, tucked into her glove, a note saying he'd love her forever, would lay down his life, and he did, for one night of bliss with her in his arms, the stars up above. No one in my family has ever died of love, I'm sorry to say. Uncle Albert died young, but he choked on a kipper. He was eating too fast, and so as children we were always warned to chew our food slowly and watch out for those insidious bones lurking with intent to kill us too. Great-grandpa had a heart attack at 40, striding home from the docks. Dropped down in the street one evening in winter. Was robbed of his boots and long underwear too, as he lay dying. What happened, happened, but nothing myth-inspiring. At 20, my grandmother had a wild affair, falling unwisely for a charming rogue who, after only 3 months, found he couldn't keep the promises he'd made. And exploration being in vogue, joined an expedition crossing the Gobi in a jeep. But Gran lived till 80 and died of anemia. Uncle George had une affaire de coeur. The lady was married. It caused quite a stir. But they both lived till 90 and died of leukemia. Romeos of consumption, Juliets of diphtheria. There are none in my family. We're all such sensible, practical souls. Our Scottish Presbyterian blood, I suppose. Grim Grandma McGregor's house was as cold as the grave. From the picture on her parlour walls, mud-splashed Highland cattle shivered in some wintry gale, glared icy-eyed, froze any passionate thoughts into lassitude. We grew fat on her stews, greasy and grey, on which scraps of ancient sheep floated. Meals we prayed daily to be spared. Still, the family thrives, lives long, earns a good livelihood. Some have even achieved decrepitude. Thank you. Thank you.